Welcome to Sunshine Art and Drawing. Today I am doing an Inktober themed video. This is a beautiful set that I picked up, and it is a nib and 2 inks. When I first picked it up I thought it was a gold ink and a black ink, but it turns out it's a gold and a silver ink, which is pretty cool. So that's what comes in the set: a nib holder, a nib, and 2 sets of ink. And I'm also going to be doing a quick test of these and then a drawing afterwards. So here's the silver ink. It's really pretty and shiny. The silver ink doesn't seem to separate as much as the gold ink does, but I would recommend, if you have this, to shake them both really well before you start, like I am with the gold here. The gold kind of separates into like the gold pigmenty little bits and then like an orange sort of, I guess it's like a liquid they float in. I don't think it's real gold or real silver, but it's really pretty. So after I've shaken up the gold a little bit, I'm going to open it up and I'll test both of them out on this black card just to make it a bit easier to see, because sometimes it's hard to see gold and silver inks. So here's the gold ink. Let's open these up and we'll give them a little test. So I'm just showing you they're both sort of the same brand, same sort of deal. And this is the nib holder and the nib. The nib is like gold plated. It's really pretty. And it writes really well. It's got a little bit of flex to it, so it's not too hard, doesn't catch on rough paper. I think that the actual nib holder is wood and then it's coated in some nice paint or lacquer. It's not plastic, it's not light, it's actually got some weight to it. So let's get started. I'm going to open the gold first. Now I noticed when I open this up it screws for a while, which is good, it means it's got a good tight seal, and then it's got this little bit of paper over the top. Seems like I was just unlucky today trying to get paper off of things. And I'm just going to dip it in and start writing and drawing just to see how it goes and how much ink. The nib holds a lot of ink, which is surprising. You can do quite a bit of drawing before you have to dip back in. It's really handy. So as you can see, I'm drawing just a few little gold things, a little ring and a little gold bar, just to see how they look. Now I'll let them dry down and I'll bring them up to the camera so you can see. The ink takes a little while to dry, and you can't really use anything else to dry it, like a hairdryer or something like that, because it'll just push the ink around. So it's always best just to kind of draw what you want to draw, maybe leave it overnight or for a few hours and let it dry down completely, and then you should be able to go over with watercolour and that sort of thing. These are they are waterproof, but you need to let them dry first. So if you touch them now while they're still wet, they would smudge, and they did smudge when I moved the piece of paper around. But here I'm going to be drawing a Siamese fighting fish, and the reason I'm drawing this is because the theme for today for Inktober is underwater, and I wanted to draw something underwater, so I figured why not to draw a fighting fish, because they come in gold and I think it would look really pretty to have little gold fins and the gold scales. So I'm just drawing his kind of outline at the moment, and as you can see, you can draw quite quickly with this. You don't have to wipe off the pen or anything between drawing. You can sort of spend your time doing a lot of lines without having to keep dipping in as well, which is quite handy. It holds a good amount of ink. And I didn't like the mouth that I did, but I think I fixed it up at the end. It does look a little weird. So after I'd done that, I let the ink dry. And then I've come back, this is probably about 10-20 minutes later, and it's still wet as you can see, but I figured if I'm careful I can kind of go in between and add a bit of silver sort of highlights. So I'm adding a little bit of silver to the fins and to the scales just to give a little bit of highlight and look really pretty. So once I have done the fins, I move on to the tail. And then I noticed in the picture I was referencing there were just like little kind of almost spines, I guess, on the edge of the fins, so I put those in too. And I tried to fix up the mouth, but I think I made it worse. With this ink, if it's not dry, you can get a little piece of paper towel and sort of dab up the excess. I also recommend when you're first about to draw, do what I did over there and dip it to the side a little bit. And the reason you do that is just get that big blob of ink off of your pen so you don't end up putting that right in your artwork. So that's what I did there. So I am just writing down that it's a fighting fish and signing my artwork and putting in Inktober 2017 and that it's the underwater theme. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching and have a sunshiny day. I just wanted to pop back quickly and show you what it's like to use watercolour over the top of the ink. I've noticed that 2 things happen. One, the ink will come through the watercolour. So when you paint over it, you're not like painting away the ink that you've done. It seems to shine through, which looks really, really pretty. And the other part is that it doesn't smudge and it doesn't have any sort of like bleeding into the water. As long as you leave it to dry for a good amount of time, it should be fine. So this is just a close-up showing you what the watercolor does with the ink near it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for sticking around.